He filled our shared calendar to control me. I left during yoga, and his own screens exposed the truth. He filled our shared calendar to control me. I left during yoga, and his own screens exposed the truth. Cole said a shared calendar would make life easier. At first it did. Little blocks of color for dinners, laundry, movie nights. Then the blocks started multiplying on the days I planned to be out. A plumber window at noon when I told him I was meeting my friend. A package delivery that needed a signature during my sister's art show. I'd come home to find him on the couch, surprised to see me, saying, "Good thing you were here." It felt like luck until it felt like a net. He began quoting my day back to me before I lived it. "You'll be tired after yoga, skip it," he'd say. And there it was on the calendar, a soft gray box labeled rest. He never raised his voice. He raised appointments. I tested it. I added a fake haircut on a Saturday, told no one, and watched how fast it changed. The box shifted to home maintenance with a note, "Landlord approved visit." When I asked for the ticket number, Cole smiled like a person giving a child a lollipop instead of an answer. "Do you trust me or not?" That night, I set an alarm and woke at 2 in the morning. The apartment was blue and quiet. I opened the calendar on my phone and watched a new event appear in real time. Deep clean, all day. No reminder, no source, just there. I wasn't looking at plans. I was looking at a leash. The next afternoon, I posted a short question on a private forum. Nothing dramatic, just asking if anyone had seen a partner use a calendar to keep them inside. I didn't use names. I didn't mention the haircut test. 3 minutes later, Cole texted, "You think strangers can tell you how to run this house?" He followed it with a screenshot of my draft, the one I never hit send on. I stood very still in my own kitchen, listening to a refrigerator hum like a warning. He wasn't guessing. He was watching. The calendar wasn't the trap. It was the part he let me see. That night he announced he'd be busy early tomorrow, helping a friend move. The way he always said it when he planned to wear headphones and argue with strangers over a game. He grinned, kissed my forehead, and told me to stay in because the hallway was being painted. The calendar blinked and added hallway paint, stay home. I smiled back, went to the bedroom, and stared at my suitcase. If a calendar can be a leash, it can also be a clock. I had until his loading screen. I started counting rooms. I didn't start with the suitcase. I started with paper. I laid my passport, birth certificate, and a few worn photos on the bed and took steady pictures with my phone, one by one, edges squared, no shadows. I emailed them to a brand new address I'd made that morning in the laundromat, the kind with a name that means nothing. Then I slid the originals into a manila envelope and tucked it under the lining of my tote. Paper first, clothes later. Next came a second phone. An old one from a drawer, screen cracked like a spider web, still able to hold a charge. I bought a pay-as-you-go card in cash and put it in, then renamed the device something boring, Bluetooth speaker, so if it popped up on a list, it would look like furniture. I turned off every sync I could find. The real phone would stay with me. The old phone would be my shadow if the first one started acting like a mirror. That I needed to know how he saw me. I opened my laptop and looked for the obvious things, extensions I didn't recognize, sharing settings I hadn't turned on. Then I saw it, not in the browser but on the top bar, a tiny eye-shaped icon I had never noticed because it lived next to the battery, small and polite. When I clicked it, a window opened with a helpful message about remote assistance enabled. There was a field that said Trusted Controller, and next to it a name that wasn't mine. I didn't yank it out. I took a photo of the screen with my old phone, then another of the calendar page where events moved on their own. Proof is for later. Tonight needed grace. I closed the window, breathed until my hands stopped buzzing, and moved through the apartment like a person finishing up a quiet Sunday. On the shared calendar, I added one event. Yoga, long class. I set it for the hour when Cole usually disappeared into his headset and the living room turned into a cave of blue light. I made sure the invite looked normal, then opened my dresser and rolled clothes into tight cylinders, each wrapped in a t-shirt so they wouldn't clatter in my bag. Shoes went in a grocery sack with donations written in marker. A jacket on top, like I was just taking out recycling. I checked the hallway. No painter's tape, no signs. Just the same beige walls and a quiet elevator. Back inside, I tried something I should have tried months ago. I put my phone in airplane mode and opened the calendar. The block stayed still. When I turned the antenna back on, yoga, long class flickered, then reappeared with a new note. stretch at home better. He was here with me without standing in the room. I set the kettle on because the sound would give me a cover to move. In the steam, I slid the manila envelope into my tote, the rolled clothes into the suitcase, the grocery sack into the hallway by the door. I put my favorite book into the wrong place on the shelf, spine facing inward. So later, if I had to come back, I'd know no one had touched it. Cole came home whistling, dropped his keys, and told me his friend needed him online early. "Don't wait up," he said, ruffling my hair like I was a well-behaved dog. The calendar blinked. Hallway paint, stay home. He put on his headset and became that other person who laughs at strangers. I stood in the bedroom doorway and watched the blue glow spill under the door. Counting screens. His game had a lobby. Lobbies take time. Time is space. I texted my friend Lily a single word, "coming," and a heart, then deleted the thread. I slipped the old phone into my sports bag, turned location off on the real one, and set a kitchen timer for tea I wouldn't drink. When the timer rang, I was already wearing my sneakers, already holding the tote, already ready to look like a person taking trash downstairs. The calendar said yoga. The apartment said silence. The headset said go. I opened the door and didn't look back. The hallway was empty except for the soft hum you only hear when you're trying to slip past it. I kept my shoulders relaxed, tote on one side, grocery sack on the other, the way people look when they're just disposing of a week that didn't fit. The elevator took forever because elevators know when you need them to hurry. In the lobby, I could still feel the calendar like a hand at my back. I checked my screen and watched the blue that meant me sit stubbornly on our building. He still had it. I slipped into a corner by the mailboxes and woke the old phone, the one renamed Bluetooth speaker. It lit up like a fish in a dark tank. I toggled its location on and tucked it behind the potted ficus that hides the outlet for the holiday lights. If he tried to trace me, he'd be chasing a plant. Outside, the air felt clean for the first time in weeks. I waved down a cab with my tote, then turned my real phone's antenna off for 5 slow breaths and back on again. A calendar alert pulsed onto the glass. Alert. Plan change detected. Another block appeared in red. Emergency. Return. The kind of word that tries to make your feet turn around without asking your head. Text started in a stack, each one shorter than the last. Where are you? Answer. You're overreacting. Then the tone that doesn't need caps to shout. Get back now. I watched the dots and let them pass me like weather through a window. The cab pulled away from the curb. My building shrank in the mirror and took the plant with it. Halfway to Lily's, the calendar added a new trick. A shared reminder popped up on my screen that I hadn't set. We talk when you get home. It tried to pin itself to the top of every app. I took a photo of it with my old phone, then swiped it away and opened my email. In the settings, a forwarding rule glowed I'd never made. Copies of my messages sent to an address that sounded like a utility. I couldn't delete it from my phone. It wanted a password only his laptop knew. I looked out the window at a city that didn't care about any of it and pretended to breathe the way normal people breathe at traffic lights. Then I did the only thing left that felt like steering. I put the real phone in airplane mode again and kept it there. If my life was going to be live-streamed, it wasn't going to be by someone who thought a calendar could stand in for consent. The corner by Lily's place. I paid cash, tipped too much, and asked to get out 1 block early. No need to teach anyone my new doorway yet. I walked the rest of the way carrying my tote like groceries and rang once. Lily opened the door with the kind of face that says everything without making you say it. Inside, I set the tote on her kitchen table and started laying out proof the way you lay out ingredients before you cook, photos of documents. A screenshot of the remote assistance icon with the strange name in the trusted controller box. The red, emergency, return, block, the forwarding rule. The calendar flicker that changed yoga into stay home. The story didn't need adjectives. It needed a sequence. The old phone buzzed once from its pocket in my bag. I opened it and saw the plant's location still at my building, patient as furniture. On the real phone, even in airplane mode, the calendar had quietly written one more line onto tomorrow morning. Reconciliation breakfast. Must attend. He was scheduling my apologies. I turned both screens face down and sat very still on Lily's floor until my heart stopped acting like it was trying to break out. The quiet of another person's apartment held. The red block couldn't get in. The blue dot lost my scent on Lily's fridge. A magnet held a picture of us from a summer when plans meant movies and not escape. I looked at it like a person memorizing a password. Then I stood up and started thinking about tomorrow not as a reaction, but as a design. Morning at Lily's felt like a clean page. We made coffee and a list that didn't shake. New email, new passwords, no more shared anything. I sat at her table, opened a fresh inbox with a name that meant nothing, and moved my photos of documents there so one account couldn't hold my whole life. I signed out of old clouds, then changed the lock on my phone. Each small click felt like a window finally shutting all the way. The calendar tried one last tug. Reconciliation breakfast. Must attend, blinked at the top of the screen like a teacher tapping the board. I tapped back and removed his access. It pretended to argue for a second, then went quiet. Quiet is not trust. It's the sound a rope makes after you cut it. Next came the phone call to my carrier. I asked for a new number and a note on my account that no one could change anything without me in person. The woman on the line had a voice like a good blanket. She said a lock, then read it back to me twice. I wrote it on a sticky note and tucked it under the case so my future self wouldn't have to search a laptop repair shop a few blocks away. A tech in a faded band, T listened while I told him my computer felt like a mirror someone else was standing behind. He nodded like he'd heard it before, then ran a simple check first. What opens on start? What asks to help? What has permission to follow me? It didn't take long. On the corner of my screen, the tiny eye icon I'd seen last night blinked like it knew it had been caught. He clicked through, then paused and turned the screen so we both could read. There was a profile installed I never asked for. It had a friendly name, the kind that lives on office sticker labels. Home Admin Cole. Below it, a path that told the whole story without shouting. A helper tool set months ago, right after we synced everything for convenience. 2 checkboxes were on, one to watch, one to take control if needed. The tech didn't touch the boxes yet. He printed the page for me and slid it across like a receipt from a storm. Do you want me to rip it out? He asked. Yes, I said, and heard my voice come back steady that he removed the watcher, then checked the rest. No more sharing, no more silent helpers, no more secret guests. He cleared the leftover crumbs that make machines forget who they belong to. When he handed the laptop back, it felt lighter in a way that had nothing to do with weight. Outside, I sat on a bench and called my building to cancel all deliveries in my name. Then I called my bank and asked them to add a note. No changes, no new cards, no surprises. I set up my new email on the phone and let the old inbox keep only the things I needed officers or a lawyer to see someday. I wasn't planning a fight. I was planning a life that didn't have to announce itself to anyone before it moved. Back at Lily's, the old phone in my bag buzzed once. Our lobby ficus was still hosting me. On my real screen, with the new number and the watcher gone, the blue dot finally behaved like it belonged to my shoes. Then the calendar blinked a last red square. Emergency. Return. It wasn't linked to my account anymore. It had come from the one he used when he wanted the world to listen to him. I took a photo of that, too. Then turned notifications off. He could shout at his own boxes. Mine were done listening. We ate toast over the sink like kids who had just moved into a first apartment. There was nothing profound about it, which is what made it perfect. Lily asked if I wanted to go back for anything else. I thought of my favorite book with the spine turned inward, the plant I didn't water on purpose, the jacket I'd left on a chair, so he wouldn't notice the one now in my bag. I thought of the suitcase waiting under her bed like it had also decided that I told her I wanted one more hour to make the future heavier than the past. We drew a simple path, a storage unit for my things, a new lock screen on my laptop, a fresh account for bills in just my name, a message to the building that only I could pick up packages. Then we rested. Rest can be a task. Sometimes it's the bravest one. Near noon, a message slipped through to my new email. No greeting, no name. Just a subject line that tried to sound official. You can't do this. It was a screenshot of my empty spot on the shared calendar, a red arrow pointing at it like an alarm. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to a folder called Record and went to water Lily's basil. The plant leaned toward me like this was the first normal thing I'd done in days. The laptop on the table didn't stare anymore. It waited. I could breathe in the same room as it. When I picked it up, the top bar was just battery and time. I wasn't done, but the worst part of the leaving had already happened. I had left. The storage office smelled like cardboard and dust on sunshine. I asked for a small unit, and a lock with a key that felt heavy. The clerk smiled like this was a normal errand. Then he checked his screen and tilted his head. "You're back already?" he said. "We have you for a gate code at 2. I hadn't called anyone. My name sat on his monitor with a reservation and a note. Authorized pickup for keys. The middle initial was wrong by 1 letter, like someone guessing in a hurry. The time matched the hour Cole usually came up for air from his headset. I kept my voice even. "Please cancel that. I haven't authorized anyone." The clerk didn't argue. He printed the page, slid it to me to read, and asked if I wanted a passphrase on the account. I picked a word no one alive would guess, something from a childhood book, and he typed it in, then added a flag. "In person only, photo ID, no phone changes." He showed me the note on the screen the way a mechanic shows you the new part, so you know it's there. He also wrote it by hand on a small card and handed it to me like a key you carry in your pocket. No access without the word that we walked out to the rows of metal doors that looked like a tidy town. He opened mine, let the door roll up on its belly, and laughed softly when I stared at all that empty. "Most people cry when they see it," he said. I didn't cry. I set my tote down in the middle of the floor so the room would know who it belonged to now. Lily pulled up in her car, and we did the quiet ballet of 2 people who have moved too many friends too many times. Boxes labeled books that were really clothes. A bag marked donations that was really shoes. My old winter coat folded on top of everything like it had agreed to be a disguise. We stacked fast, but not frantic, locking each layer with a towel so nothing shifted loud enough to make a scene. Halfway through, my new email pinged on the laptop I'd left open on the passenger seat. Building management wrote, someone had just tried to add a second pickup name to my package file. Same wrong middle initial. The manager asked for confirmation. I replied with the same calm sentence I was learning to put at the end of everything. No changes without me, in person, with ID. Then I added one more line I should have added months ago. Remove all prior authorizations. Back at the unit, I slid the metal door down and turned the lock. The sound it made was ordinary and holy at once. Locks can be cruel. They can also be a boundary you build for yourself. I put the key on a string and looped it around my neck under my shirt so no one would see it and think to ask that on the drive to Lily's. The old phone in my bag buzzed once. My plant by the lobby mailboxes was still hosting the that used to be me. On the real phone, even with the watcher gone and the number changed, a calendar square bloomed in red again. Emergency. Return. He couldn't put it on my account anymore. He'd put it on his and aimed it at my name like a flare. I took a picture of that too and slid it into the record folder. I was building one careful tile at a time. Lily asked if I wanted to go back for anything else. I thought of the book I'd hidden with the spine turned inward and how it had started to feel like a dare. We went at dusk, when hallways soften and people stop looking for things they don't need to see. The elevator doors opened on our floor like a curtain on a stage I didn't want to play. I listened for his voice. Nothing. The door to our apartment looked the same and different in the way doors do when you've already left them. My hands remembered the code before my head did. Inside, the living room was tidy on purpose. On the kitchen counter lay a sheet of paper, a printout of the shared calendar with a red box around my empty square. In the margin, his handwriting said, "This house has rules." I folded the printout without reading it twice and put it in my tote. I walked to the bookshelf and pulled my favorite book free, spine still facing the wrong way. The gap it left looked like a missing tooth. I took the plant too, the one I'd stopped watering, not as punishment, but as a signal. It bent toward me like it had been holding its breath that we didn't linger. I unplugged one lamp because the room looked too pleased with itself, took a jacket from the hook, and left the keys on the table not as a finale, just as a message to myself. You don't have to keep making this place behave. In the hall, a neighbor opened her door a crack and then closed it again. That's what people do when they don't know which side of a story is safe to look at. I in the car. I checked the storage camera from the office's app. The clerk had offered to tie my unit to a login with the same passphrase, and I let him. The feed showed a quiet row of doors and dusk turning into night. No cars. No shadows. The kind of stillness you can hang your coat on. Back at Lily's, my laptop chimed with one more email from the storage office. Someone had called asking to verify access and offered the wrong middle initial again. The clerk wrote that he'd declined and added a note. Under his message, he'd typed 5 words that felt like a hand on your shoulder. "We've got eyes for you." I took the calendar printout from my tote, and slid it into record. Then I taped a note inside Lily's kitchen cabinet next to the T. Passphrase set. In person only. No phone changes. I wanted the future to have instructions that I watered the rescued plant and set it on the sill. It leaned toward the glass like it had decided to live. I leaned with it until my shoulders dropped back where they belong. The calendar stayed red on the screen. I wouldn't answer. The lock around my neck stayed warm against my skin. The room stayed mine. By morning, the apartment I no longer lived and had opinions. 3 new red squares bloomed on the shared calendar. I couldn't see unless I went looking for them. Inspection, package, talk. I didn't tap any. I answered my day instead. Coffee, quiet, a list on paper because paper doesn't send alerts to anyone I didn't invite. Near 10. The building manager called Lily's phone. My new number wasn't in his files yet, but he knew where I'd landed. His voice was the kind people use when they don't want to be part of a story and now are. Someone came by, he said. Said they were a courier. Had your name, asked for a replacement key card. I asked for the passphrase. They didn't have it. My shoulders dropped an inch I didn't know they'd been holding. Thank you for asking. He cleared his throat. I thought you'd want to see this. 10 minutes later, he stood in Lily's doorway with a tablet. We watched the lobby camera together. A man in a ball cap, posture too familiar, pacing like a person who thinks waiting is a form of winning. No courier bag. No clipboard. He kept checking the glass as if it would decide to be a mirror. When the manager asked for the passphrase, the man smiled without his eyes, muttered something about calling the office, and left. The camera caught the corner of a car when he pulled away. You didn't need a plate number to know the shape. Cole's car always looked like it was about to argue with a curb. We'll add a note on your file. The manager said, scrolling. In person only. Photo ID. Passphrase required. No exceptions. We'll also flag that vehicle with security. I nodded and wrote the passphrase on a fresh index card for him to tuck behind the desk log. He handed me a new building note to keep. 3 lines and a signature. I liked the way the paper felt in my hand. People can pretend. Ink rarely does. Back upstairs, Lily put a bowl of oranges on the table like the room needed a color that wasn't red. My laptop chimed. An email from Cole with a subject line trying to sound reasonable. Drop off my keys. No greeting. No request. Just a line that read like a law he made up. Leave the keys with the manager by 4 or I'll have to take steps. No specifics. Just the tone of a person who thinks a calendar is the same thing as consent. That I read it twice and answered once. One sentence. Keys are on the table. I won't be returning. I CC'd the manager so there was no room for misunderstandings to grow teeth. Then I moved the message to record and took a breath that felt like opening a window in a familiar room and remembering air is still free. An hour passed without a new red square. Then another. The calendar didn't bark. No, emergency. Return. No, we talk now. Silence that didn't feel like a trick. I checked my phone settings anyway, ran my finger down the list of sharing switches like a person checking the stove for the 3rd time. Off, off, off. Good. The building manager texted again mid-afternoon. The lobby camera had caught the same car circling, parking across the street, leaving. No visitor logs. No packages signed. Just loops. I asked him to email the stills to record. He did. The folder grew by 2 black and white images that looked exactly like what they were. A habit running out of hallways that I walked to the storage unit alone just to stand in front of a door that did exactly what doors are supposed to do. The lock sat warm under my shirt, steady as a heartbeat. I slid the key in, turned it, and listened to the metal say yes. Inside, the boxes looked right where I left them. Nothing shuffled. Nothing watched. I set the calendar printout with "This house has rules" on the top of a stack and laughed once without being mean. This house has locks, I whispered, to no one and to myself that on the way back. I stopped for a cheap frame and slid Grandma Ruth's word into it. The one Sophie had given me from her story, not mine. Keep. I didn't steal it. I borrowed the idea. I wrote "keep" on a piece of paper and taped it inside Lily's cabinet next to the T. Keep the passphrase. Keep paper. Keep your name out of his boxes. Lily rolled her eyes at me for being sentimental and handed me a mug at dusk. Cole sent one more email. No subject line this time. Just a single sentence that wanted to be bigger than it was. You can't just leave. Under it, an image attachment of our old living room and the keys I'd left on the table. Proof he'd seen what I said he would see. Proof he'd walked into a room I no longer had to make behave, that I typed exactly 9 words and didn't let myself add any more. I already did. Stop contacting me. In writing only. Then I set my phone down. The calendar didn't light up. The red squares didn't multiply. The silence stayed. Not the kind that threatens. The kind that minds its business. Lily and I ate standing at the counter again. Oranges bright between us. The plant bending its new leaves toward the window like it had discovered a weather that wasn't a rule. I slept without the tiny eye in the corner of my screen. I woke up and the top bar was just battery and time. Sometimes victory sounds like nothing. I turned the day into a filing cabinet. Every email, screenshot, and photo slid into record with a name that would make sense if a stranger had to read it later. Dates first, then what it was. The folder stopped feeling like proof of a problem and started feeling like a map back to myself. In my inbox, I built a filter that moved anything from his addresses into record automatically. No more surprise banners while I was making coffee. No more red boxes stepping into my morning. I added one more rule for myself on a yellow note above the sink. Answer nothing live. Paper only. Paper has boundaries. Then I wrote the message that would be the last one that needed a button. It went to the building manager, the storage office, my new number at the carrier, and my own record address, so it would file itself. I stated the only way I would talk about doors, deliveries, or keys. In writing. No lobby chats. No phone calls with anyone who just needs to verify. If someone needed a word, the word was the passphrase. If someone needed more than that, they could send it in an email with a date. The afternoon held, quiet as a page turning. Then one more email arrived from him. Short, familiar, careless. The subject tried to be neutral. The line inside told on everything. I saw your screen make that new folder. You can delete record, but I already saved it. He had finally said the part he'd been pretending wasn't there. Watching me watch myself that I didn't give the sentence a sermon to stand on. I moved it into record, then answered with a single line I wrote slowly so it would hold. All contact must be in writing to building management or to me at this address. Any attempt to follow, view, or enter my accounts will be treated as harassment. Do not contact me again. I CC'd the manager and the storage office. And the message clicked into place without needing to shout. The room stayed quiet in the way rooms do when a lid has finally settled on a jar. No red squares. No pop-ups that pretended to be emergencies. The tiny eye that used to live in the corner of my screen was gone, and so was the itch it left behind. I sat at Lily's table and realized my shoulders had dropped without asking permission. Before bed, I printed 3 things and taped them to the inside of a cabinet door where they would meet me with the tea. The passphrase card, the 1-sentence contact rule, and a small square that said keep in my own handwriting. Keep the rule. Keep the paper. Keep the doors shut to noise. Night passed without alarms. Morning arrived like a person knocking politely to by noon. The quiet had a rumor. A friend from my running group sent a screenshot from a chat I didn't belong to, my old calendar with a red box around empty squares and a caption that said I'd bailed and was unsafe to myself. The image looked official until you knew where it came from. It was the same printout he'd left on our counter, exported again like a permission slip. He was trying to make my absence a problem to solve instead of a choice I'd made that I didn't chase whispers. I pinned one sentence where people who knew me could see it without writing back to him. I'm safe and staying elsewhere by choice. Please do not share images of my personal accounts. Comments off, no story time. A map, not a monologue. I sent a copy to record and put my phone face down so it couldn't keep turning into a room he could walk into. The building manager texted, mail pickup at 4, with a guard just in case. Not drama. A door with 2 hinges instead of 1. At 10 to 4, we walked the quiet hallway together to the bank of mailboxes. He unlocked mine and stepped back so I could reach first. Flyers, a coupon that thought I still ate at the cafe near the old apartment, and one small self-addressed envelope with my own handwriting on the front, except I'd never written it. Inside, my spare mailbox key and a sticky note that said, return to sender. A trick, neat and wrong. He tried to reset the narrative to I left, not I locked. That I slid the key into my palm and handed the envelope to the manager. Chain of custody, I said. He smiled like a person who likes when phrases land where they belong. We walked back past the camera that had learned our faces. No circling car. No courier cap. Just afternoon light thinking about being evening. Back upstairs. My inbox held 4 messages that had taken the long way around. A cousin forwarding the rumor with 3 question marks. A neighbor asking if I needed anything. An old classmate saying she had a couch if I wanted a different roof. I replied to each with the same line I'd pinned. I'm safe and staying elsewhere by choice. Copy to record. Paper isn't cold. It's steady.at5. The last expected move arrived. An email from him with a thumbnail of a screen recording, my calendar changing boxes. Except this time the video was stale. The little clock in the corner of the clip told on him. It wasn't today. It wasn't yesterday. It was a week old, from before I cut his access. He'd run out of windows to climb through and was reusing footage like a magician who hopes the second row didn't see the first trick. I saved the clip to record and answered with one sentence that weighed what it needed to weigh. You no longer have access to my accounts. Do not share or fabricate images of me or my information. Further contact will go to council. CC'd the building manager. CC'd the storage office. Sent. Set down. Then I did something that didn't look like a defense at all. I took Lily's spare trash bags to the hallway chute. The movement was ordinary on purpose. In the elevator, a teenager in a backpack asked if our floors smelled like oranges. It did. I told him yes and watched the doors close on a reflection that finally looked like a person in only one piece. Back in the kitchen, my laptop pinged once more with a note from the manager. Security had spotted his car 2 blocks over, idling, then leaving. No approach, no request for a passphrase, no lobby theatrics. Just motion that didn't have a plan anymore. The calendar on my phone sat gray and quiet like a sidewalk after rain that I put the spare mailbox key on a new ring and placed it in a dish by Lily's door. Not a trophy, a proof of address that only I could hold. The plan on the sill had opened a new leaf. I touched it with the back of my finger and felt how soft. Beginnings are before they decide to be strong. For the first time since I added yoga, long class. My body believed me when I said the word safe. It landed after midnight. The hour he likes because people are softer. Subject, proof you're lying. Inside was a single image, my calendar with a bright blue block on tomorrow. Caption, meeting with me, confirmed. It would have been convincing if he hadn't left 2 fingerprints right on the glass, in the top corner of his screenshot. The clock read a time that didn't match the time zone our calendars use now. The minute hand and the event start didn't line up. And down near the date, a tiny old icon I disabled days ago still sat there, as if the past could be dragged forward and no one would notice. It wasn't a live view. It wasn't even new. It was a stitched-together leftover, repackaged as tomorrow that I didn't give it a speech. I slid the image into record, renamed it stale_screenshot.png, then replied with one line that fit on a breath. Do not send altered or recycled images. Further contact is in writing to building council. I CC'd the manager and added our building's legal contact, the one who handles keycard disputes and hallway cameras. I didn't threaten. I routed. 5 minutes later came a shorter message. No subject, just, you think you're smarter than me. I moved it to record without responding. A folder doesn't rise to bait. It files it. Morning felt like a room with the windows finally latched. I checked the calendar out of habit and found nothing. No red squares, no emergency, no orders dressed as plans. The silence wasn't a trap anymore. It was simply the absence of someone else's hand on my day that I kept my promise to myself and made one quick post, just like I said I would when the noise stopped pretending to be news. I'm safe and staying elsewhere by choice. Please don't share images of my accounts. For anything important, email me. Then I set my phone down so the sentence could sit in the world without me babysitting it. Before lunch, the building council replied with the kind of line that puts furniture back where it belongs. We've documented his messages and the doctored media. Security notified. Any further contact should be directed solely to this office. The manager forwarded a note as well. The lobby team had instructions to ask for the passphrase, and if anyone tried courier again, they'd be met by a guard and a clipboard instead of a nod. I went for a walk around the block with Lily's keys in my pocket and my lock key warm under my shirt. The city did its usual tricks. Delivery trucks double parked. A woman in a red coat marching like the crosswalk belonged to her. A dog carrying a newspaper larger than its head. Normal things looked like a parade. Back home, I opened record and scrolled through the names I'd given each tile. _on.jpg, emergent underscore return.png, storage underscore col underscore note.pdf, passphrase underscore card.jpg, stale underscore screenshot.png. It didn't feel like a pile anymore. It felt like a story that knew how to stand without me pushing on it.my laptop gave one polite ping. A final email from him arrived with no image, no claim. Just a last try at writing the ending himself. We'll see each other soon. I answered with 9 steady words I could have carved into a door. Do not contact me again. Counsel only. This is final. Send. Save. Close. The afternoon sat down beside me like a friend who doesn't need to talk. I made tea, watered the plant, and flipped my favorite book to the page where the corner had been turned years ago for no reason at all. This time it meant something. Keep going. I wrote it at Lily's table with the window cracked just enough to let in a slice of street noise. Proof the world keeps moving even when someone tries to pin you to a square on a screen. No thread, no explanation, no tour of the wreckage. Just a sentence that fits in one breath and holds a door shut without slamming it. I'm safe and staying elsewhere by choice. Contact and writing only, no images of my accounts, no visits without authorization, comments off. Posted once. Printed to record. Slid a copy into the kitchen cabinet behind the tea so tomorrow could find it if today forgot. For an hour. Nothing happened in the best way. The calendar stayed gray. The tiny eye in the corner of my laptop stayed gone. The plant on the sill unfurled a leaf like a hand opening. I made toast and didn't check my phone while it browned. The kind of domestic victory that never makes a post. Then the last email arrived, small and thin and late. No subject. No square on a calendar trying to become a rule. Just a line from Cole that landed without a place to echo. I'll stop. No promise. No apology. Only gravity finally doing what it does when push runs out of places to stand. I didn't answer. Some messages earn a folder. Some earn silence. I dragged it into record and closed the lid of my laptop. Not a flourish, just a finished page. Evening took its time. I walked to the storage unit alone and unlocked the metal door with the key that lives warm under my shirt. The boxes waited the way good rooms wait. Undramatically, exactly where I left them. I set the frame square that says keep on top of the stack so my next beginning would see it first. Keep paper. Keep rules. Keep my name out of anyone else's boxes. Back at Lily's. We ate at the counter and didn't talk about him. The plant leaned toward the window and stayed there. My phone was only a phone. My calendar was only a calendar. Quiet wasn't a test anymore. It was home. Some endings don't roar. They align. You don't win them. You just stop letting someone else schedule your life. Thank you for watching this story on True Tales Hub. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next story. That we post new tales twice a day, and each one comes with unexpected twists you won't see coming.